Sloan, what up, my man? Hold on, let me unmute. Sloan, what's good, man? Good to have you on.
Can y'all hear me okay?
Yeah, we can hear you now. We can hear you.
Oh, okay. It seemed like it's a little bit of a delay. I was just making sure.
Yeah, it might be a little bit of a delay. That might be that Houston airwaves. Y'all so hot out there, man. It's hard to keep the
Man,
airwaves
I'm about to say,
going.
if I can't be easy if I did it from my phone, maybe.
Could possibly be. Could possibly be.
Yeah.
We can try that out.
Okay, hold on. Let me try real quick.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll give you just a second. Let us know when you're ready. Ani, anything else out of what we can kind of segue a little bit into and we're about to bring Sloan back on, but I'd like to start with the George Floyd Classic. So let me bring him back on. I know he's getting on his phone.
Is that better?
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's smooth.
Yeah.
So yeah, talk a little bit about. We'll get into everything that you're doing in the city, kind of how you've got into this role. We'll talk a little bit about even coming up in the city when you came up and came up in a big time class. We'll cover all that, and we'll cover the drip. Everybody wants to talk about the drip, so we'll get to that too.
Got to talk about that.
Sloan, I'm a little disappointed. I was expecting fireplace, wine in your hand. Is it too early for that, or what's the deal, man? I mean, what's the deal?
So my daughter's doing a little distance learning, so I'm trying to keep it. Normally, I try to keep wine till at least after noon, so still a little bit early. About 45 towards 1 o'clock.
It's probably after the show, right? You got to come on the show and get the
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Just chill with my OTR shirt on, just kind of, I'm amongst friends, so I'm relaxed.
Yeah, you got to let people know about the OTR too. So we'll talk about OTR. We'll talk about everything Sloan is doing, but kind of a historic first annual George Floyd Classic. Obviously we all know what happened with George Floyd, and it's something that will never leave any of us, especially us black men and black people, especially. But let's talk a little bit about that game and some of the things around it, and kind of obviously George Floyd from Houston. We talked about that already. Went to Yates High School. Let's just touch on that first before we kind of get into some of the other happenings in the city of Houston.
With the George Floyd Classic, Yates High School, obviously the school that George went to, was involved in Duncanville. And the kids, not only did they play basketball, but they actually got a chance to go to the mural that was painted in Third Ward of George Floyd and kind of talk about that, had a moment of silence for him, 46 seconds. And even during the game, it was 4 quarters. And, in high school basketball, it's 8 minutes. But during the game, it was 8 minutes and 46 seconds at a 46-second moment of silence for George Floyd. Again, man, Yates High School, so much tradition and history with their program playing Duncanville, the same history and tradition. It was just a good event. Two teams from the hotbeds of the state got a chance to come together and have a really good quality event at Del Mar Stadium.
Yeah, so let's talk a little bit about OTR. You're a former high school player in the city of Houston, went to TCU, played there, had a great experience there, still represent the Horned Frogs well. And then you've just done so many things. You went on to play professionally some. You've come back to the city. You did some youth programs kind of early on, and then you started working with some grassroots programs here and there. Then you started doing scouting, then doing events. You've kind of created your own lane. So want to make sure we kind of talk about your journey first before we get into some of the stuff that's happening in the city of Houston, if you don't mind.
Yep. So I'm an Eisenhower High School graduate, played there all 4 years. High school graduate 2001.
Hold on, say this real quick. Why did you say all 4 years, just for the people watching? Did you say that for a reason, to let people know you didn't have to transfer? Or?
I didn't have to transfer, man. And it's funny, man, because I almost transferred to Klein Forest to play with Niall Murray our senior year, because my junior year, 2000, Willow Ridge with TJ and Danny and Kenny Taylor, they beat Klein Forest in the state finals.
Yep.
So Jason Klotz, who was a senior that year, went to Texas.
Big fella went to Texas. Yep.
Yep, and they needed an inside guy. So we kind of flirted with that idea for a long time, but I ended up staying at Eisenhower.
And you play with Nile in college anyway, so it all worked out.
Yep, ended up working out. So yeah, so then from there, summer I played for the infamous, incomparable John Urie and the Houston Superstars, with TJ Ford and Daniel and Kenny Taylor and all those guys. And then from there I went on to play at TCU for all 4 years. And then left TCU, played in Europe for 7 years. But while I was in Europe every summer, I had a summer basketball camp. Just kind of, I had guys who played overseas as my camp counselors, and we did that literally every summer. And it's funny, man, seeing kids now where, we had guys like Tyler Smith, who just got ranked 11th in the country, ESPN. Chris Marshall, who's at Marshall High School, big-time wide receiver now. Jacob Cole at Bel Air. All these kids kind of, when they were younger, went to our shoot to score hoop summer camps. And so that's how I kind of got started seeing some of these kids while I was still playing. And I retired and just kind of wanted to stay in the game. And so I started doing, smaller tournaments. Christian Bible Church in Missouri City had one court. My first tournament had 8 teams, and I was pumped. And I started doing that, and then started working with the Houston Hoops younger groups. Christian Begg kind of got me started with the 5th grade and 7th grade group. And then went from there, started coaching on the Houston Defenders on the Under Armour circuit. One of the classes I coached was that 17 class with Savion Flagg, Max Evans, those guys, Trevor Moore. And then from there, man, just decided to start the scouting service, OTR exposure. It's kind of taken off. I have about 54 schools subscribed to the service yearly. Now I'm doing, more scholastic events and still doing summer tournaments, spring tournaments. And during the pandemic, man, the OTR exposure kind of camp series kind of took off. And we had some good kids from across the state come Houston and Dallas. Went back and forth. And, some really talented players, man. Keontae George, Kason Wallace, Missing Chukwu, Zuby. It was big time. And so, I'm just kind of excited about the growth of that and just want to continue to provide that platform for the kids in the state of Texas.
What kind of led to that, man? I obviously we talked on the phone, and I salute you from afar and up close because I know, I've seen the whole journey from back when you played. We're not that much different in age, but back when you played to all the way through everything that you've been doing. And as a college coach, calling to kind of get contact or maybe ask about this kid or that kid, and you've just evolved kind of your lane and what you're doing. Just kind of how did that come about? Where did the heart for that come from? Is it just because you wanted to help kids in the city? Did you see it as like, obviously there's a lot of basketball in Texas, and we talk about this a lot. There's enough for everybody to eat. You know what I mean? So it's not about I saw we weren't doing this or this wasn't there. More so just, there's enough for everybody to eat. So what exactly made you want to get in that lane and kind of continue to help? Because obviously with 50-something plus schools and the amount of kids that you've already kind of touched and impacted, there is a space for it. And there's a respect that you have as a former player that played it to understand kind of what that journey is like. So the way you're able to help players, the way you're even able to help some college coaches, there's definitely a different element and a positive that you bring to it that, again, there's enough for everybody to eat. So talk a little bit about what made you do it.
Well, even when I was playing in college, my guy Jeff Luster, he's assistant coach at UTSA. Whenever we did scouting reports when I was in college.
Shout out to Jeff Luster and his son over at UTSA.
That's my guy, man, Jeff Luster. I would always be interested in the scouting report and learning my assignment and what, other teams did and their sets they run and how to stop them. So kind of me just watching film, always kind of evaluating players. Even when I was 18, 19 years old, I kind of had that interest. And so it never left. And even when I was a pro, I would always ask my coaches, my assistant coaches, shoot me the film. I'll watch it in the apartment at home and kind of, do my own little scouting report on guys I would guard and even on myself, things I need to work on. So for me, man, evaluating has always been something that I've been doing since, I was 18, 19 years old. And, everyone knows I love my city. I love my state. So just for me, it was a chance for kids to have the same experience I did. playing college basketball changed my life, and basketball probably saved my life. So just the yearly and daily and weekly experiences I had through the game of basketball, my goal is for other kids across the state to get that same thing that I got and more. And so that's just kind of my driving force now. Me with me being a player and experiencing certain things, and I tell the kids now, like I'm exactly who you were 20 years ago. I'm playing in high school in Houston, playing AAU, doing the camp circuit thing, playing all these different events, playing for a top-notch summer program, AAU program. I did those things. So I feel like it's my job to help other kids do the same thing as I did.
No, that's big time. That's big time. I know it's always about the why, right? Like, and I've always, again, respected the way you've gone about your business. Has always been about the young men and helping and paying it forward. And I just salute you all the time on that, and we'll continue to. So, talk a little bit before we get to the good stuff about the city. Since we're on Sloan, let's talk about the drip. All right, let's talk about the drip. We know fashion is at the elitist level when it comes to Marcus Sloan. And that may have probably always been a part of you too, but Russell Westbrook kind of has his way of doing it. Dwayne Wade kind of has his way, and then we got Sloan. But you bring a different element to what you do because you'll have a throwback jersey on with the shoes to match. You'll have the most innovative and creative stuff that's out there as far as fashion. Shoe game is always on point. And there's some intentional posts to show what you got going on. So let's talk a little bit about the drip because it would be right if we didn't.
For me, the drip is a part of the lifestyle. Again, be like just showing kids that, hey man, like if you take care of your business in school, on the court, it's a lifestyle you can achieve.
Right.
And
Right.
so again, I always tell people I am the puff daddy of this kind of grassroots. Like when you see me or when you see me out at an event, like, hey, that's Sloan. You got the drip. And so even again, man, the kids, like now the kids notice it.
Yep.
So again, for them, it's just a part of the message. Hey, man, like if you work hard, if you take care of business, all the things you want, now you can have. And so again, I always tell guys like, and I make people laugh. Even the lifestyle over some of the guys, like the women they have, always telling like, when you're in high school, you're so in love, sometimes with your high school sweetheart. And I tell guys like, hey man, you're a basketball player. If you dedicate your work and your life to craft, who knows what you can get out of this game? You can maybe get a college degree, own businesses, and then the drip that you think you want in high school, you will have more because of the work you put in. So
right.
It's part of, again, the lifestyle that I'm trying to show kids and show guys, hey man, like, yes, I'm older, but yeah, man, like I use basketball to get this drip. And I also use my education and things I learned through the game of basketball, networking and working with other people, leadership, discipline to get the drip that I have now.
No doubt. And it's, you got a chance to play professionally after college. You got your college degree. And I think it's just kind of a way to dangle that carrot in the sense of like, just keep yourself motivated. Don't try to be necessarily this right now, but like you said, put that time in the gym. So when you are in a place where you're a father and you're a husband, that you can do the same kind of things. And real quick, before we kind of get this last part in, you're a family guy. Okay. Talk a little bit, quick few minutes about your family. That means a lot to you. You talk about your family, that your presence in your family. You talked about your daughter doing school right now. So I know that's a big part of the message that you're sending too is, I'm not out here running around in the streets. I have a wife, I have kids, I'm a present father. Like that's a huge thing too, as something for young people to see.
Yeah. No, I mean, now again, when I was younger, as B, I was heavy in the streets now. I was in the clubs and hosting parties and stuff like that. But now at 38 years old, I'm married, 3 kids, and they are a big part of my life, obviously, and they are a driving factor in everything I do and just trying to provide for them. And again, showing the kids, man, like, hey, like when you become a man, you got to take care of your family. And so, obviously they are the most important things in my life. I love them dearly and they give me motivation. just because I want to be the best, not only for myself, but for them as well to, so my kids can be proud of me and look at me and, hey, my dad's a hard worker. My wife can look at me and say, hey, my husband's a hard worker. So it's definitely something I strive for and daily, just, taking care of my family and making sure that they're straight.
Yeah, no doubt. We're gonna bring Ani back in and talk a little bit of hoops in the city of Houston. We'll let you kind of run with it, but I'll let Ani kind of segue us into it.
And then, and real quick, B, let me give you your props too, man. As we've met, you've always been this positive, energetic guy, and anytime I was around you or people are around you, you have this infectious energy about you, and I think it's always rubbed off work, and I think this platform for you is a huge deal because you've always been like a people person and bringing people together, building people up. Like I said, just so much positivity, man. So salute to you guys. Ani the same way, actually. Is always, positive and always building people. It's sometimes, man, in this business, and I'm guilty of it. You get really competitive, and the one thing about me is I will always be ambitious, and I'll always be competitive. And sometimes, you see guys in the industry, you think like, this guy's my competition, and I want to kind of go at them. But
right,
you guys have always, since I've known you've always been welcoming and people and making sure that you give guys their flowers. Like I said, this platform is an extension of that, and I definitely appreciate it.
Yeah, appreciate you saying that. I'll let Ani say a little bit after I get done. But no, I appreciate you saying that. We're definitely excited about it. We want to be able to bring more people together and shine more light. There's a lot of darkness in this world, as we know, man, and a lot of challenges in this world. We're dealing with this pandemic. Some people are unemployed. Some people are dealing with health challenges, and then just the mental health. We don't think about that probably enough, but the mental health is a real thing. And so we just wanted to make sure we're doing our part to bring people together and give people their flowers, as you said, and shine some light and serve. We want to serve other people. There's so many great things happening in the state of Texas. I'm biased. I don't currently live there right now, but hardly home, but always repping right now. So want to make sure that we just doing our part. So we'll get into. And thanks so much for that, Sloan. We'll get into some hoops now, man. I'll let Ani take it over.
So Sloan, we there was some big games going on in Houston these past week or so. Obviously the George Floyd Invitational. I know Faith Family came in, played some games. So I just want to you kind of talk about some of the games, players that really kind of stood out, some things that maybe some players that kind of progressed and did some things that they weren't doing in the past. So I just want to kind of get your thoughts on everything.
Well, yeah, and I tweeted earlier in the week, man. Just wanted to kind of give a big shout out to Brandon Thompson and David Peavy, man, for bringing their teams down to Houston. Kind of enemy territory, playing 2 games. Faith and Family played 2, man. Summer Creek and Shadow Creek. We have them both top 7 in our rankings with OTR exposure, and they played 2 tough games that came down to the wire. They got a freshman, man, Dontrell Barrett, who I really, really like. I'd heard the name before a lot. Mm-hmm. He improved. Faith and Family, strong guard. Obviously, Jordan Walsh played well. But yeah, they had 2 tough games, 2 gritty, hard-fought games, and Summer Creek and Shadow Creek beat them. But just, it says a lot about, BT for coming down here and playing. And same with Duncan. Sure. Playing Legacy at Legacy. It was a crazy game, man. Triple overtime deal. The kid, Ramon Walker, has been taking this game to another level. He is currently the number 1 ranked senior in Houston, U of H signee, and he's definitely playing like it, man. He's been on a tear. They played Hightower last week. He had a big game. Then he had 30 in both games this week. This past week he played versus Faith and Family, and then he actually had 30 against not Side Creek. The game he played last week. So he's been cooking, man, and he's taking the game to another level. It looks like U of H got another one. Kind of same on the same line as Tremont Mark, man. He is like Tremont had a big senior year last year, and Ramon has a big year. He's taken off. He's much improved, a much better driver. And last year he kind of settled for jumpers. This year, man, he's attacking the rim. He's getting rebounds. That Shadow Creek team, is a very formidable group.
Absolutely.
Coach President has those guys playing, man. Brian Gordon, Cam Amberee Jr., Sean Jones Jr. They've taken their games to another level, and it shows.
No, for sure. And I want to get your thoughts on Man. So, we call him DeAndre, but his nickname's Man.
Okay.
Kid that's really, burly guard, strong, can hit shots. They told me that he was going to be the starting point guard that year. I thought that was interesting. Kind of want to see how he would just handle the pressure, handle the physicality. And from everything I've been watching, he's been able to hold his own. He's a player that just has a mature game, knows how to play. And I think, Faye family has a really strong guard that they could have for 4 years, especially just as a freshman, just really performing.
I mean, man, he got their first 8, if I'm not mistaken, hit 2 big threes early. And so I was at the table and I asked the coach, I was like, what year is he? He's a freshman. I was like, oh, wow. I mean, just because, it was a big game. And he was guarded by a kid, Brian Gordon, who will play in college next year somewhere. And
absolutely.
The moment he was getting to the rim, like I said, he knocked down the first 2 threes for Faith family. I like his build. I like his game. He's tough. He's competitive. So they are definitely in good hands with him at that 1.
So I also want to ask you about Ramon Walker. So in the summer, he's a little out of shape, kind of picked up some quarantine weight a little bit. You can tell he's in shape. He's back in a groove. Just talk about, like you said, you talk about Ramon, selling for more jumpers in the past year. Now kind of going and attacking. I saw a dunk, a highlight where he dunked with the left hand. It was like someone taking charge. He dunked with his left hand. And I didn't know. I was like, whoa, he can do that. So just talk about kind of his progression now.
Yeah, he has taken his game, like I said, to another level, man. He has been number 1 just because, honestly, the 2001 class in Houston, there was never like a one guy who was consistently number 1.
Right.
And so for the most part, Ramon was like the default number 1. But this year, he has earned that, man. Like I said, he's taking charges. He's rebounding. He's showing his athleticism, getting to the rim, and his jumper has been falling. Like I said, he averaged 30 last week in 2 games. He's been on a tear, and I'm actually excited to watch him Saturday versus Tascasita.
Yeah, it's gonna be a big one. I'll be there at the Holiday Hoop Fest.
Yep, absolutely.
So there's 2 22s there. Obviously, there's other places you talk about. Cam Amberee and Faye family. You also had Trey, TJ Caldwell. I want to just kind of get your thoughts on Jordan Walsh for Faye family, and then also Sean Jones, whose jumper I feel that has really made some strides when I saw him in August, and even when I saw him at your event and that first fall event you had. I was like, his jumper is coming along slowly. Now, he's not a pure shooter by any stretch of the imagination, but has made strides, which is really promising. So I want to get your thoughts on that.
Oh, no, I mean, it's funny, man, because Jordan Walsh, even though they kind of look alike, I always compare him to Charlie Villanueva. And, in saying that, man, he has long arms. He can defend multiple positions. He's a rebounder. I think he's a 4-3 just because of his athleticism. But I love his versatility. I love how he's kind of like a Swiss Army knife for them. And just the fact that he has a motor. It seems like that he's kind of working on his perimeter game a little bit, kind of stretching out a little bit to 3, starting to shoot more 3-pointers. But I love his motor. I love his intensity. I love the way he defends. And actually, he and Sean are very similar. Sean is a little bit smaller, but Sean has, again, really high motor, athletic, competes, tough. And this year he's becoming more of a vocal leader for Shadow Creek. Ramon Walker is kind of more of a quiet kid. He's more of a lead by actions type of guy, and I see that. But Sean has started to take over the vocal leader role for that group. And like you said, his jumper is improving. He hit 2 threes in that game against Faith Family. So I think he has to keep coming with his perimeter skills, especially with 3-pointer. But he is making strides, like you mentioned.
Right. So let's transition to the big one, Legacy versus Duncanville. That was a big game. That was 3 overtimes. I thought you were watching your stream at the end of it. So
it was a heavyweight fight, man. And hats off to Legacy because they got down 12 to Duncanville in the second quarter, I'm sorry. And I've seen Duncanville kind of make teams fold with their pressure, right? Duncanville gets a double-digit lead as a view. Like, teams tend to, like, fold and they suffocate. But Legacy fought back and cut it to 3 at halftime. And so it just in that game, man, it just seemed like both teams always had the answer. Legacy would go up 4, Duncanville would cut to tie it. Duncanville would go up 3, Legacy would come back to tie it. And it literally came down to Ron Holland making a shot and Brian Miles missing a shot. That was it.
Yeah.
Like that's literally the difference in that game because it was evenly matched. Both coaches were coaching. Both teams were locked in mentally, physically to that game. And it seemed like Legacy had it won. And then my man going to Sam Houston.
Damon Nicholas.
Damon, I'm going blank. Damon Nicholas hit a tough shot, man, a 3 with 5 seconds left, tie the game, go triple overtime. And then in triple OT, man, Ron Holland hit 2, like, big-time, big kahuna threes. Like,
yeah.
Like, one of those no, yes, you know? And then he made another big one down the stretch with, like, 7 seconds to go in triple overtime, man. But both those teams really competed on it, man. It was a really, really good high school basketball game. It was intense from the jump. Like I said, both teams gave maximum effort. And like you said earlier, man, like, there are no moral victories at this level and at the level that those schools are. But, man, Legacy really, like, they couldn't have played a better game, honestly.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. So, what I liked about the matchup when I first saw that it was on the schedule is both teams really pride themselves on the defensive end, right? So, like, they're going to full court, man to man. They'll get some press. They'll kind of jump trap you. They play hard. They play fast. So I was like, you're seeing two teams that kind of have some similar stylistic, approach to how they win basketball games. And just to see that win triple overtime, and like you said, Ronald Holland, making 2 threes in overtime. I want to talk to you about that. Not necessarily Ronald Holland, but I was talking a few episodes ago about, it's big seeing a 2023. So I was talking about Jacoby Walters and McKinney taking over late in the game and guiding his team to a win. Talk about, like, how the importance of seeing a sophomore, especially in big games like Ronald Holland. And, there's other guys I know I'm missing on that just produce in a big setting.
It was crazy because literally, man, like that last shot he took, it was 7 seconds left in triple overtime, and they were down 2. You know what I mean? So, like, it's not like 3 or it was a tie game. Like, they were down 2. So for him to take that 3, it just shows his confidence. And like I said, even the first 3 he made in triple overtime just shows how confident he is in his abilities, especially with, he's out there with seniors and juniors, who can play. And he's the youngest kind of in charge out there, man. And like I said, it was one of those things like, oh, wow. And it's ironic that the rankings came out today and he's 7th in the country. And you think, like, he's earned that, to be honest. Right. Like, he's earned that ranking, like, from what he did in the game against, PFC and Imani Bates to what he did, in the last summer to even what he did now. He has been big time, and that was a big time moment. He did not shy away from it. And the crazy thing is, like, his team was confident in him and his abilities. And Coach Peavy was saying, he's a worker, and it's just a testament to how hard the kid works.
Absolutely. So I want to talk about another player for Duncanville, then we'll go into I want to get your thoughts on Legacy. So Damon Nicholas, obviously he had a 30-point game in that against Legacy. They had a 30-point game against Yates. Damon Nicholas is a kid to me. I don't know if we'll see it next year, maybe his sophomore year, but me and Burr were talking about Max Adams, who had a big showing. I'm not saying he's going to put a 30-point game in a college game, but he's going to have a big statistical game in college level at Sam Houston. And it's how I feel like, just like the ultimate glue guy, but can really score the basketball as well. Talk about, from where you saw Damon Nicholas, and kind of what he's kind of progressing into now, the player that he's molding into. Just want to get your thoughts on him.
So about 18 months ago, I saw him at the John Lucas camp. And again, I had not seen many 21s around the state at that time. And I tweeted, I said, Damon Nichols is a top 5 kid in 2021. I'm about to, you know me, I keep the receipts on it. I'm about to pull that up.
Yeah.
And so just how hard he was playing at Lucas, I was like, yo, there's not many kids playing as hard as him. This is crazy. Right. And then to see him now, after the game, his dad came up and asked me, he was like, is he 14th in the state? Because I guess, some ranking had him 14th in the state. And it just had me thinking, man, like, that kid, there's no way he's 14th in the state. Just like, I think Sam Houston got an absolute steal.
Absolutely.
All conference guy as a freshman for them. I love his feel, his toughness, his motor. He brings it. And so for Sam Houston to get a kid like it, I think that's amazing for them. And I think he's going to be huge for them. And he's a worker, you know what I mean? Like any time I've seen him, he's put in work. Whether it's on the glass, how hard he competes. And it's not anything like flashy or over the top. He doesn't have like a crazy handle, or he's not shooting from NBA range. It's just he gets things done, and he gets it done efficiently.
Right.
Real quick.
Absolutely. Right. You're right about that. So, like, to me, Damon has an intriguing ceiling, right? Because, like I said, there's nothing like he does like spectacular, right? But he just gets a lot of shit done. And he keeps getting better, and he keeps getting better. And then you're like, well, he can't do this, but then he shows you that he can do this. And he's a kid. I'm telling you, like 3, 4, I think he could potentially play basketball for money. I'm not calling him, I think he has a chance to, right? And that's why he has an intriguing ceiling. You every 3 or 4 months, he does something that he wasn't doing before. And it's like, okay, he's a worker, and and he produces. So I'm really a big fan of Damon Nicholas. So I want to talk about legacy.
I want to jump in. I got a chance to work with Dame during the Lucas camp. I think the same one maybe Sloan is talking about, but maybe it was a year ago when I worked with him. But tough, competitive kid. Game translates similar to a guy like Marcus Sasser, who has a mature game for the next level. Very, very competitive, and the things he does translates. But he reminds me a lot of the current best player at Sam Houston State from Bryan. Very similar. Zach Nuttall. Very similar players. Very similar ceiling. And Zach Nuttall is one of the best players in the conference right now. So I can definitely see if the two of them are playing together, that's scary for opponents. But I want to jump in and say that real quick. I'll be back in just a second. I'll give Ani one more, and then we'll close out. I'll jump back in.
All right, cool. So wanted to talk about legacy, and prior to we talk about the players, I know legacy when they first started with PJ, and we'll get PJ on the show at some point. Had to start. They weren't very good at first, right? The first year or two, and then they kind of started growing. And this year, getting Ashton Smith, getting Aaron Scott, getting Brian Miles, and those guys. I know there was some pushback, with everything. So, for him to have a team like that, and now I see the city starting to embrace him more, right? Just kind of talk about that. Talk about kind of that trend, that how that all went up.
He and I, a couple nights ago, we talked about it. I remember the first team he had at Legacy. They were not very good. Yates beat him by damn near 40. And everyone was kind of tripping around, and he was like, "Just chill. Like, I'm building a program." And then, man, it's funny because then I had some parents call me. Jonathan Massey's mom called me, and Aaron Scott's dad called me, and they were like, "Hey, what's up with this Legacy thing, Coach PJ?" And I was honest. I was like, "Hey, I think he's building something special. I think the School of Sports Management is an awesome program. The teachers were former athletes. The founder of the school was a former athlete. Her husband was a former athlete. And the coaches all played in college. And I told him, I said, I believe in Coach PJ and what he does. The only thing I don't believe in PJ is going to lose weight, but that's another topic. But, him as a leader, as a basketball coach, and he has grown that thing to. He even said it. He was like, in year 3, it's a little bit ahead of where he thought he would be. He thought maybe it would take about year 5 to where he is now. And next year, I'm sure, and the year after, it'll be even better as they have a over the program. they got some young kids that are really interested in coming to Legacy and just being a part of the program.
No, absolutely. No, PJ's done a really good job with that group. I remember, like you said, I remember the first year where they were just getting blown out. And,
Right.
you know, it's funny when you talk about program building and guys being patient. I was talking to Vern about that because I was talking to, about Kimball, how teams, they're going to struggle. You're going to go through a period where you're going to struggle during the season. Yep. Maybe the year's not going to be there. But I think there's obviously some patience. I think when you're building a program, it's going to be a 3 to 5 year process, like PJ expected it. And so for it to be where it's at now and to compete against the best and stay in Dunkville's one of the best teams in the country. You see what I'm saying? Like, and for him,
they had them on the ropes, like literally, they had them on the ropes, wow. And it was just to watch to think, Duncanville, they're a top 15 team in America, and Legacy, I mean, they were literally right there, from getting that thing done. But again, like you said, man, PJ's done a great job. They have some kids, and they'll have 7 kids on Division I scholarships this year, which is amazing. I want to say they'll be tops in the country. If not number 1, definitely top 3. So just for him to be able to attract the talent there that he has so soon, so fast is a testament to what he's doing.
Yeah. So I want to ask you about one kid that hasn't. There's actually 2 of them that haven't committed or signed anywhere yet, and I want you to touch on it for Aaron Scott and the kid that came from Chicago, Jalen Gibson. Kind of your analysis on both those guys.
Jalen Gibson, just quickly, Jalen Gibson, man, he had a huge game for Duncanville. It's kind of his coming out party. Physical, strong guard, can get to the rim, has a nice jumper. Like I said, physically, he's ready for the next level. He competes, athletic, tough, and he had a big game for Duncanville, 18 points. And Aaron Scott, he has 16 points for Duncanville. We call him the mid-range wonder. He has an incredible mid-range jumper.
Absolutely.
Long arms. He can defend multiple positions. He can play multiple positions. And I think both of those guys are mid to mid plus guys, especially Aaron because of his versatility.
Yeah. No, I was so when I saw Legacy the first time, it was at your event. So that Jalen Gibson really stood out to me. Kind of really defends, gritty, underrated as a passer. Well, let me sound. I think his passing is undervalued. I think he kind of can thread the needle, and he makes the right appropriate reads. And the Aaron Scott, like you said, mid-range wonder. That's perfect. That's a perfect just kind of describe him. I mean, mid-range game is real smooth. He uses his lane, kind of shoot over the outreach of the defender. I think defensively he's kind of been bought in. That's kind of what PJ, kind of got him tougher. And playing harder. I think he's done that for Ashton Smith and a couple of those guys. You got Sir Isaac, who's also another kid that hasn't signed yet, who's a higher end Division I prospect. I think those kids at Legacy play so hard, and like you talked about, you got 7 Division I signees. Kind of touch on, PJ Neal, who's going to Prairie View, and Brian Miles, and Jonathan Massey, who's really getting a lot done. Who's really impressed me. He's really impressed me. He's always a kid, and you've always talked about him. Just when he was younger, he just wasn't as developed yet, right? His body wasn't really there yet, and wasn't all the way there yet. And then so to kind of see him now. This is like, okay, you're starting to really see what can come out with this kid. And, I really, that there's a lot of talent there. There's a lot of talent there. And those guys, and what's so scary about them is one or 2 guys can be off one night, but there's others that can pick the slack and then provide a 15, 20-point game. And, the bench is just very, like, little things like that. The bench is so live and they encourage each other, I see high school benches where their team making a run, the guy's sitting like this, like how I'm sitting, So definitely like seeing that. So
one quick thing, Sloan, I wanted to just we got about 12 minutes or so to wrap up. One, I wanted to touch on anybody who, so you're OTR, which is on the radar, right? Who are the guys that's under the radar that are just now kind of getting to OTR status where they're getting on the radar? And then kind of to close, we'll just talk about Houston basketball in general, the state of where it's at, the classes, the strength of it, kind of the history of it. We'll kind of go through that as we close.
Some of the kids, man, had really good senior years. I'm gonna start with the kind of keep it with the 21 classes because they've kind of been the most affected by the pandemic with the shortening of their live periods. But DJ Richards at Side Creek has been on a tear. He's really been cooking, man. Big games, 36-point, 32-point games. He got schools like Oklahoma and Colorado State calling. Josh Farmer's played well for Sharpstown, 6'8" kid. It's a kid, Peter McKee at Hastings, a combo guard, about 5'11", really strong scorer. And Fergus is a kid, another 21 too, Javon Jackson at C.E. King has really been playing really, really well, man. As a kid, Anthony Ferguson at Park, about 6'5", another under-radar kid. This 21 class, man, it's a few players in the city who I think can play at the next level. It's just getting these guys in front of coaches via streams or when the coaches can, come out hopefully in May and even some of these D2 NAIA schools. You got guys like Noah Khan at Houston Christian, was at a big senior year. Noah's so explosive, physical, athletic guard. You got guys like Jacoby Flores who's playing well, committed to St. Thomas University. So there's so many kids in that class. A kid that's blowing up, man, even from yesterday, 6'9", Brandon Love at Bush High School, a senior. He had a big game last night. Has had a big couple weeks, where now schools are calling. So there's so many kids in that class in 21 who are a little bit on the radar. Another kid at C.E. King, LeVar Johnson, 6'7". So it's a bunch of kids, man. Dallas right now, they are rolling talent-wise, man. They got guys, the list just came out. And you got Ron Holland, 7 in the country, 2023, and you got Keontae, 12 and 22, and Kason Wallace, 23 and 22, and Dallas is rolling. But I think the talent in Houston is not as bad as people try to make it seem. We'll have at least 18 to 21 Division I signees in 21. Yep. That 22 class is not bad, obviously, with Bryce Griggs being a leader, Terrence Arsenault. So the talent isn't as down as people think. And again, man, you have waves in the state of Texas. When Houston, we had Oubre and Fox and Justin Jackson, those guys, it was a nice wave, guys. First round draft picks, lottery picks, second rounders. Now it's Dallas' turn, with RJ Hampton and those guys, Maxey and those guys. So the talent level in Houston, again, I'll say this again, it's not as bad as people try to make it seem. It's just those guys are on. And again, I'll give credit where it's due. Those guys in Dallas, they put in the work and they earned that. Maxey and Timmy, and you see guys like Jalen Wilson starring for Kansas right now. So and for us, we got a freshman class from Greater Houston area playing pretty good, man. Kenneth Loftus playing good for La Tech, and
right.
Those two Dickinson boys are really playing well, man. Marcus Williams is killing for Wyoming. Yeah. Tremar Mark is cooking for U of H. At the top.
Xavier Wheeler is one of the best point guards in the country at Georgia. Real quick, Ani's got to go put on his coaching hat. He's got to go put his strategy in and put it in his sideline.
I'll be there on the 19th.
Yes, sir. Christmas crossover.
So we're gonna let him say his last closing words, and then we'll get about 10 more minutes with you, Sloan, and then we'll let you run.
Okay.
Well, definitely appreciate you, Sloan. Always been very welcoming to me. You've done a really good job just as far as just shedding light to the players in Houston. Sometimes when it helps me, when I go into Houston saying, okay, maybe here's some kids I need to take a look at that I haven't taken a look at. I kind of be following your stuff and everything. And just want to say, I really appreciate what you do for these kids, what you do for the city in Houston. And, definitely appreciate you coming out to the show today.
No, man, like I said it from the jump, man, you've always been a guy who has always been so positive and, really looking for the kids, man, and trying to do what's best for them. So, anytime I could help you and help, Alan Branch, I definitely would do so. I've seen your growth in the business. You're kind of taking off, man. You're one of the hottest guys in the country. And just keep, keep doing your thing. And, I'll always be here to support you for sure.
Absolutely. Likewise. Appreciate you.
And then don't forget to keep running those kids.
Bird, I'm out. I'm going to go coach these kids.
Hey man, you can't call your kids soft and then go. You got to give them at least a little bit of credit. They're out there winning games for you, man. You calling out.
They are. They're just soft. They're still a little soft. I can't give them full credit. They got to figure some stuff out. We're gonna make sure they tough going to December 19th. We'll make sure they're tough going December 19th.
They better be. All right, Artie. See you next week, man.
All right, y'all.
All right,
Artie. Yeah, man. So the city of Houston, you talked about it a lot. So you went over some of the names. Obviously, you came in an era with TJ Ford and that era. Just talk about let's celebrate the city of Houston for a minute before we go. I know that sometimes the bar is set so high, and there's been so many elite guys come out of there that when you do have 21, 25 Division I signees, it almost feels like it's a weak class, or Texas or Houston's not that strong, but it's just not necessarily legendary right now, but still high level of basketball being played. And there's still guys, like you said, Marcus Williams, Tremont Mark. I mean, those guys can play. And same with big fella at La Tech. Those guys can play really at anywhere in the country right now. And those guys weren't necessarily nationally rated or highly rated. And you go back to, I think about Kerwin Roach, who went to Texas, wasn't a guy who was super nationally played on a non-circuit team. There's so many guys in Houston, and you just never know when those guys kind of develop and the light bulb comes on. And so anyway, I want you just to kind of talk about the city of Houston in general, some of the history. Let's just celebrate the great things that have and the players that have come through for a second, as people want to kind of, sip their tea. Let them sip their tea, but let's celebrate the city real quick.
Man, for me, graduating high school in 2001, it was guys before me like Ansu Cisse, played at Ole Miss, got drafted in the league. Obviously, Rashard Lewis. I played against him my freshman year when he was a senior at Elsick. Guys like Alton Ford, McDonald's All-American, who went to Milby. Our city has always had talent in my class. In the 2005-2006 NBA season, we had 7 guys from our high school class that were in the NBA. And so again, man, sometimes people get spoiled, and with the success, especially in Houston. And like I said, man, you had guys like Tack Minor and Daniel Gibson and Indy Ebby, Kendrick Perkins, so many NBA guys. And even now, man, like you said, we got guys like Justin Hill, who's at Longwood, playing for Griff Aldridge, who lived in Houston. Justin averaging 12 points, 5 assists, 4 rebounds a game. Again, the talent in this city has always been in abundance. You can go back to the 70s and 80s with the Wheatley programs and the Cashmere High School programs, guys playing major Division I basketball and going to play professionally. So our city, we've had plenty of players, and we'll always have players, like you said. Maybe they aren't NBA guys, all of them, and we never know. People talk about Tremont Mark, maybe being an NBA guy. People talk about Marcus Williams, maybe being an NBA guy. Guys like Kevin Samuel. So Kendrick Davis at SMU is, probably get Player of the Year in the AAC. So, again, man, the talent in our city is fine. There might not be any De'Aaron Foxes, max guys right now in the NBA, but the talent is we'll be okay in Houston.
No doubt. Real quick too, let's talk about you. You touched on some guys that are playing well at the college level. Whether it's a senior, whether it's a freshman, whether it's somebody in between, a transfer, doesn't matter. Let's talk about some of the guys. You got guys even like what's my man's name at a transfer to Memphis from Evansville. They used to
DeAndre Williams.
DeAndre Williams coached against him last year. He had a monster game against us. There's so many Houston guys that are doing well at the collegiate level. Again, that aren't always celebrated. There's guys that sneak onto the college scene and all of a sudden become these guys like, man, where did he come from? He's from Houston, or where did this guy come from? We talked about Max at ORU from Dallas and how well he's playing, averaging 23 a game, and he wasn't a super highly recruited guy. He's one of the best guards in college basketball right now. He's proven that. So let's talk a little bit real quick, celebrate some of the guys at the college level that you've been kind of tracking and that are having success from Houston.
I mean, I tweeted this the other day too, man. In Houston, man, we might have at least one guy in 5 of the major conferences that make an all-conference team. You got guys like Miller Kopp at Northwestern, Xavier Wheeler at Georgia. You got guys like Kevin Samuel at TCU. Kendrick Davis at SMU is playing well. The guys down at Austin P, Jordan Adams, he's preseason all first team all conference. So it's guys across the country, man. Our Savion Flag at A&M has a good season starting the year. Like I said, Justin Hill at Longwood. It's not all even. You put him in the greater Houston area. And Sam Houston, Kenneth Lofton, La Tech. There's so many guys from this greater Houston area who are playing really well, man. Quinn Grimes having a really good year so far for U of H. It's top 7 team in America. He's playing well for them. One of the leaders on that team. The kids in our city, talent is here, and they're showing it at that next level. And people, man, what they don't understand, it's difficult playing at that Division I level, especially, man. People think because you have success in high school, it automatically translates over to that level, and it doesn't. It requires a lot of work, a lot of discipline, a lot of things go into having success in college. And so just want to tip my hats off to those kids.
Yeah, no doubt. And love the work that you're doing and so many others in the city of Houston and the state of Texas to help scream these names out, and make people know. And even Lupe was giving credit to Houston and Dallas for celebrating their players in the way that they do, and hoping that San Antonio was going to be that same way. It didn't quite happen in some of the ways that he hoped to, but that's what makes Houston and Dallas kind of special hotbeds to play in. And even talking about, as we close, the event coming up that Glenn was on last week talking about his Hoops Giving Classic. We got another event he has coming up where he, again, whether you're in Houston or Dallas, some of the best events and players and showcases are going to happen in the state. So talk a little bit about just the next week that's upcoming in Houston, and then we'll shut things down.
2 big games, man. 6 o'clock game at Hoop Fest at Atascocita versus Shadow Creek. OTR exposure ranked number 1 and number 5. And so, we're excited about that game, man. David Martinez, the head coach at Atascocita, does a really good job coaching. I got to get my charger, man. My phone. He does a really good job with those kids at Atascocita. And that game will be really, man, anytime you have a doubleheader like that, people talking about the Legacy versus Imani-based team game, obviously, but that Shadow Creek to Atascocita game is worth the price of admission as well, man. 2 really good teams, 2 really good coaches. And Atascocita has a couple kids on their team too, man. Tom Hart's unsigned senior. Christian Ashby is an unsigned senior. They got another unsigned senior. Justin, about 6'3", 6'4", kind of plays different spots on the floor out there. So that's a talented team also going against that Shadow Creek. So, man, that Hoop Fest should be pretty good.
Yeah, no doubt. Looking forward to it, man. And thanks so much for coming on, Sloan. I know you're going to continue to do big things, man. This won't be the last time you're on. We'll continue to have you back on and keep doing great things, celebrating the city and helping those kids get that exposure and keep the fashion show going, man. I don't know what's next, but I don't know what's next. So
Hoop Fest.
Lupe said that we got to get a head to toe because you're gonna have Farragami on and all that, but it don't look like that's the case today. You're going casual. Enjoy the rest of your afternoon, man, and we look forward to following for more.
All right, B, man. I appreciate you, man. You guys keep up the good work.
Okay, man. Thanks so much. Well, episode 4 comes to a close. Awesome time again. Just having a chance to connect with different people throughout the state of Texas and talk about the players, the events, all that's going on, and meeting some of the real personalities that are in this business as far as the high school scene. And we'll just continue to keep evolving it. Week 5, a lot of great stuff coming up next week. Episode 5 next week, same time, same place. You can follow us at All Access _ CC for Coach's Corner, All Access _ SM as far as sports media. And then we made a small change on our Instagram. It is now All Access Network, along with our YouTube and Facebook page. All Access Network is the home of All Access Sports Media and Coach's Corner. So the Coach's Corner podcast is out. We've had how many episodes now? Number 6 goes out today. Adam Nelson from Hoop Dirt will be the featured guest on today's podcast on All Access Coach's Corner. But there'll be 3 different podcasts that come out a week on Coach's Corner. just making sure we're covering the landscape of college basketball, high school basketball, basketball period. And then Friday, we have JUCO Fridays with JUCO Hoops Insider with JUCO Advocate. We look forward to that, so please tune into that and go to our YouTube page, subscribe, continue to do great things out there. Everyone, stay positive, stay healthy, wear your mask, tell your loved ones you love them, and keep making a difference. Thanks so much.